Hello, everyone. Hi, my name's
Hello.
Isabelle McNeill. I'm from the Cambridge Film Festival. Welcome to Amplify. And we're delighted to have with us tonight Maria Arlamovsky, the director of Robolove. And we're going to ask her questions. So if you have any questions for Maria, then please type them into the chat. You can also tweet us questions using the handle Amplify Film on Twitter. So yes, we're very pleased to have you with us. Thank you for being here. I will just say that
Thanks.
the internet, sorry, I will just say that the internet connection is a little bit unstable, or has been in our test tonight. So please bear with us if we have any technical difficulties, but hopefully everything will be as smooth as possible. So I will start with some first questions. Yes, I noticed there is a theme running between the last film you made, Future Baby, in 2016, and Robolove. It seems there's a real interest in your work in the interface between technology and humans. And so can you tell us a little bit more about your interest in that intersection between those two?
Yeah, when I was working on Future Baby, it was very much about the medical and biotechnological revolution we are sort of seeing nowadays. And it was going very deep into all those ideas about transhumanistic ideas that are surfacing here and there. And I was wondering if we try to with the means of medical and biotechnological help, we are trying to make the perfect baby in a way. What the other direction would be when we are looking out for the perfect female, sort of. And then at that time, it was a very big hype about android robots, and there are several prototypes around, like Sophia or the ones you see in Robolove. And I thought it's very interesting to see how the female wants to be made, sort of how people want to build the perfect female, and that's also what I think is as a female documentary director, I also think it's sort of important to go into directions where not everybody is going to, since it's very technological, and that there's not very many women around on those spots. So I thought that was an interesting entry point.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating aspect of what you document in the film, and I wonder, what's really interesting is that I feel, I mean, because the film as a whole very beautifully really shows us, sets things out for us to see and to listen to and to witness, but doesn't really tell us what to think and how to respond to these android creations and the plans of the people who are making them. And so I wondered if, yeah, I guess how, as a female film director, how were you thinking about that question of, I guess, the judgment that might be passed? You do show us some people who talk about the problems with the sort of the bias towards a certain racial and gendered form in the making of robots. But at the same time, there are also other possibilities that emerge from those, which are perhaps more positive and hopeful. Yeah, can you say a bit about how you managed to tread that line between showing us the problems and then highlighting the new potential?
Yeah, so with the work I'm doing, I always feel like it's important to make a step back and to look at those things that are unfolding while shooting. I personally don't like documentary films that tell me what I should think or what kind of angle, narrow angle I should take. So I think it's more important to take the step back and give more room to the audience to decide for themselves what they want to focus on, sort of. And if you go and shoot a scene with people working on a prototype of an android or whatever, also if I talk to sex workers, it's like I want to give them the open space for them to explain what they are doing in a way, because in the end I think you have to go with your own gut feeling, how you read the scene and what you want to take out of it, sort of. And I think with this kind of openness to the audience that you can give to the audience, then they themselves can feel this what it makes to their body if they watch the scene, for example. It's complicated to explain, but it's like I always have the feeling when you watch a scene, for example, you have a direct connection with your feelings, and it's sort of a bodily response to it in a way. We cannot, it's not very clear for us, and it's not conscious very much, but you get a kind of a gut feeling. I think that's the word we should use, perhaps. And this is interesting for me to have the openness to let other people have their reactions to the scene, and not my focusing or giving them only a narrow space to react. I don't know if my English is good enough really to explain, but I hope you get it somehow.
Yeah, I think it's wonderfully clear, and it's an aspect of the film that I really appreciated when I was watching it, because actually the questions that are being raised in the film about what it is to be human are really complicated, and it's easy to perhaps take a simplistic attitude one way or the other, but actually your film really opens up this disquieting complexity of what it means to be human. And I think that's something interesting about the film, is that it's about robots, Robolove, but in the end it also becomes about what it means to be human. Was that something that you always thought it would be, or did that happen in the process of making it?
Yeah, I think the process of making it made it clearer for myself that it's really, I mean, all those androids, they are so catchy, they are so beautiful, and they're so interesting and so amazing. But in the end, it's only the humans behind the androids that are really interesting, because it's everything what they do, all their visions are going to be are installed in the android. So the android is an empty box, if you want, but everything we put into the android is human, in a way that we are the people programming the android are programming it, and that's the point. It's all the human thoughts and all the utopias and dystopias and everything from our side going into the android. But the android is only mechanical tool, and it's only silicon and metal and a lot of cables and a lot of sort of complicated actions, but it has no soul in a way. And the human thing that's behind it, that's interesting, really. For me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, you managed to find such fascinating characters, perhaps with a particular focus on Hiroshi Ishiguro. And I wondered, how did you, because these are people who come from all over the world, how did you manage to identify the subjects who you included in the film?
Yeah, I mean, there are not so many people out there that really are really working on high qualified androids. So it was not so complicated to find them, but in the end it was very complicated to get them to let us film with them. because of course those people have a lot of work. Some of them wanted to be paid very, you know, wanted to raise very high charges for paying them to, if we want to film then. And Hiroshi Ishiguro I met at a science film festival because I was there with Future Baby and he was there, I don't know why. And so I met him and I came to talk with him, and immediately he was interested in cooperating. And I thought he's a very special person, because with him you see very much that humans become more or less very robotic in a way, if you want to see it this way. Because for example, Hiroshi Ishiguro, he has operations because he wants to look like his android, and he very much poses in a very robotic way, so that he is the anchor for this idea to have a doppelganger. Do you understand doppelganger? Yes, right?
Yes.
So I thought the switch from humans becoming more robotic and robots becoming more human is so very interesting. Yeah, and the others, I mean, I think it's very interesting to meet all those people, because what they're doing is amazing in a way, because they're really going for their visions of the future, and for that I have a lot of respect. And then on the other side, I also have the feeling a lot of those people also, for example, Natasha Vita-Moore in the film, the transhumanist who says we don't need to die in future. Those people think about what technology does with us. So they have a lot of thinking and cognitive processing of what will happen with all those technologies that we are already at a daily basis surrounded anyway. So it's very interesting to meet people that are able to have visions about where it would go if we wanted that way to go. But I think for a normal audience and for sort of a civil society, so it's very important to understand that those are possibilities where in future we could go, but it's our turn to say, hey, listen, do I want this or don't I want this? And how do I react? And it's too easy to say everything what is happening is bad, and we don't understand what is happening, and so I don't mind, because I think there has to be this sort of it's a way also to be political, if you want, because I think it's our future, and we need to form our future, and it's not in the hands of somebody, it's in our hands, and we need to know more about it.
Yeah, I think the film is wonderful at
long answer
that exactly that kind of debate, because I think one of the things it made me feel was just how much of this is already happening, is already a part of our daily lives, like the comparisons to Alexa and Google, you know, these are already things
yes.
that are happening. I have some questions from the audience coming in. I just wanted to ask one last question, just because it's something that really struck me about the film, and that was a mix, basically the aesthetic choices. So the mix of using very extreme close-ups, particularly on eyes, and also shots where the subjects are standing very still, and so there's this moment of hesitation, which is a bit uncanny. Because sometimes we're not entirely sure what is it we're looking at. Are we looking at a human, or are we looking at a robot, an android? And I wondered, yeah, if you could say a little bit about how you went about making those aesthetic decisions for the film.
Yeah, well, I thought the most interesting part is the human body and how we move and what our body can do, sort of, and how complicated it is to make robots or androids move like us. And every movement we are not conscious about, like a little smile or a micro movement in the face, is so important to show what we are thinking, what we are, how our body language is expressing. So I thought it would be very nice to be very close to those bodies and see the difference and see and try to be very precise on while looking at them. So this is why we choose to be very very near to those surfaces, sort of, and the difference be blurring in a way. And on the other hand, you can always see what is human and what is not human. And I thought this was sort of a game we like to play in the end. And on the other hand, a lot of times with androids, you sit in very boring rooms and the rooms don't look very cineastic anyway. So I thought the body is so beautiful. So we wanted to give the emphasis on the human and the android body.
That's wonderful, thank you. So I have the first question from the audience coming up, and this is from Simone, who wants to ask you about your personal perception of robots. She talks about finding the film fascinating, but a bit creepy, or at least the humanoids were a bit creepy, and she's not sure that she would like one, or that she would particularly want to upload her mind after she dies. And so she's wondering if you would like one in your home. Would you like to upload your mind? Do you have Amazon Echo or Google Home? You know, where are you in all of this technology?
Yeah, no, myself or my family, we don't have anything of those Amazon Echoes, or we don't even talk to the voice machine on the telephone or anything. I find it sometimes when I hear that my smaller daughter is talking to Siri from the phone of her father. She's talking to that voice to the bot. Really, it's a robot, right? In a very horrible way, because she knows it's a machine and she thinks she can talk to it, but it's also human voice. So I find that very disturbing that children find it complicated to make this difference, sort of, that they seem to talk to a machine, but still they're talking to a voice. And does it mean that later she will be unrespectful to other people, for example? That's also what the sex workers in the film are saying, that does it mean when you can act with an android in a very dehumanized way? Can you say that?
Dehumanizing?
If you are very unpolite, yeah, will this also be with other people? And this is a question that Kant was discussing years ago, because Kant said, if you behave very badly to an animal, what does it mean? How do you behave to people, sort of? What does it make with us when we behave in a very bad way to technology that looks human? What does this mean later if we talk to humans? Will we behave very unpolitely to them also? Because everything becomes an object in the end, if we go in that direction. And no, also for the uploading, I think after making this film, I'm so happy that I'm living now and not in like 50 years, because I really want to die. And I don't want to live like 150 years or 1,000 years or whatever, because I think it's so beautiful that we ourselves are living in circles, and you come to the world and you leave the world, and it's a coming and going. And if we only want to stick and stay, I think we're sort of we're not in a circle anymore, which I personally find not very amusing.
Thank you. Actually, the next question from the audience is from Mike, and it really follows on from just what you've been saying. So perhaps it will just give you a chance to say a bit more. Mike asks, did the process of making the film change your feelings about the future of AI? And did it make you feel more optimistic or pessimistic?
Well, that's it. I have to answer in two parts, sort of, because it's one part is the Android body, and the other part is the Android cognition, or the AI, right? And for the humanoid robots, I don't think that there will be a future really for them, because it's so complicated to make a replica of the human. It's much easier to find humans that can do that kind of work, where you need your feet and your hands. I think we will see, I'm sure we will see a lot of robots in future, but they will not look human. It's like when you go to a sex shop nowadays, the how do you say it in English? Dildo? Is dildo the English word? Yeah. I mean, they don't look like a male penis. They look like an airship now. So, but you can use them for the best, in the best way. They don't have to look human. It's like in older days when they started to build cars after having horses, they made them look like how do you say, those carriages where you had the horse in front? Because this was the only way we could think about how something should look when you want to go from A to B, right? So now cars don't look like that anymore. And I think that's the same with robots in the end. The design will completely shift from the humanoid to something much more practical in a way. And with the artificial intelligence, that's something completely different, because that's, of course, artificial intelligence will become better and better over the years, but it will need a lot of power, and it will need a lot of specific, it's very easy for artificial intelligence to do a specific task very good, but it's complicated to do, like a human being, sort of a lot of specifics together. That's too complicated at the moment. So I don't see that coming that often. And I mean, we were raised by films like Blade Runner or something like this, where we saw replicants on the streets. But if we want humanoids, robots with artificial intelligence, we need to rebuild our cities. We need to rebuild our homes, because they couldn't walk like in those environments. They couldn't walk into a wood, because they would fall down every second meter, sort of. I mean, not for military purposes, but for social purposes. I think it doesn't make a lot of sense in the moment.
Thank you. One more question from the audience, which is, how do you think the pandemic might affect the development of AI and robots? And do you think it's made it more or less necessary in your view? I guess here we are speaking through machines to one another. So are things changing in that way?
Yeah. I mean, that's very interesting with the pandemic, that we really understood how important those technologies are for us if we can use them. And technology is only interesting for humans if you find an entry point where it can be used and make sense and is not too expensive, right? So everything that we can use will be accepted in a way, like we see with our phones. Who 20 or 30 years ago thought that we will be in touch with our phones like 24 hours a day and having it next to our bed? And you know, we're sort of together with the phone anyway. But I don't know, I think we have to see, and technology is always something that people are afraid of also, because it makes a lot with us. It turns, sometimes technology is able to turn our lives completely around, right? And and therefore I think we need time to reflect on technology much more. We need time to understand that we already are very hooked with technology and artificial intelligence. And we always have to decide, how far do we want to go? How far do we want to intervene? What is, I'm sorry, what is is there a point of no return, for example? Is there a point where we say, that's too much, that's too that's too revolutionary, perhaps, for our lives? So I think the important part is to stay in the discussion.
Thank you so much. I think on that note, we will wrap it up. It's been really brilliant talking with you about your film. Thanks so much for your generous answers and for being with us tonight, and for sharing your film with us, which I think we've all greatly enjoyed, and it's given us a lot to think about. So we'll say goodbye now, and thanks once again for being here, Maria Arlamovsky, with your film Robolove. Bye for now.
Thank you.